Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. Today we're exploring this company called Agent Forge.
An interesting one for sure.
Yeah, we've got two main sources for this one. Their company website, AND, their open source project on GitHub. So kind of a two-pronged approach here. We'll see what they're all about, what they do, and what they offer to the world.
Sounds good.
So starting with the website, they're calling themselves the premier provider of evergreen and state-of-the-art AI solution.
Fetchy.
Yeah, and they break down their services into these three categories: consultation, implementation, and maximization.
Yeah, those are definitely some buzzwords right there. But I think the idea behind them is pretty interesting.
Okay, yeah, let's hear it.
So it seems like they're really focusing on tailoring their solutions to each business's specific needs.
Okay, so not just like a one-size-fits-all AI solution.
Right. They really seem to emphasize this deep dive into a company's unique challenges, and then they create like a custom roadmap. That's where the consultation part comes in, I think.
So they actually take the time to understand the business before just saying, hey, here's some AI. Good luck.
Yeah, exactly. And they talk a lot about minimal disruption and cutting-edge solutions. Of course, every company says that, but
Of course, it's marketing. But I'm curious how that translates into the real world.
right. Okay, so let's imagine, just as for instance, a manufacturing plant, and they're having all these problems with inefficiencies on the production line.
Makes sense. So many moving parts there. Seems like a good place to try to optimize things.
Exactly. And so what Agent Force would do is they'd send their experts to the plant as part of the consultation phase, and they'd analyze everything, all the production data. They'd talk to the workers, maybe even look at the physical layout to find any bottlenecks.
Wow, so they really do their homework.
Yeah, they do. They try to pinpoint where AI can make the biggest difference rather than just saying, here's some AI, put it wherever you want.
Smart. So it's all about targeted implementation.
Yeah. And then comes implementation, which is where they actually put their plan into action. They do the whole technical integration of the AI systems into that production line. And it's interesting because they specifically mention doing all of that with minimal disruption to the existing workflow.
Okay, so the plant can keep running while they're doing this. No need to shut everything down for some big AI overhaul.
Exactly. And then the final phase is maximization. And that seems to be about the long term, like making sure the AI systems are constantly learning and adapting so the plant can be as efficient as possible.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's not just a one-time fix. They stick around and continue to support the business.
Right. This maximization phase could involve stuff like predictive maintenance, where the AI can like anticipate when equipment's going to fail before it actually happens.
Wow.
Or things like dynamic resource allocation. So the AI is constantly optimizing how materials and manpower are being used based on all the real-time data it's getting.
Okay, so we've got an idea of how this might work for a manufacturing plant. But what about a totally different type of organization? Like, say, a nonprofit?
Oh, that's a good question. How about one focused on like environmental conservation?
Perfect. Would Agent Forge's approach still work?
I think so. It's all about adapting, right? So for the consultation with a nonprofit, they might be analyzing environmental data instead of production data.
Okay, so different kind of data, but the same general approach.
Exactly. They'd figure out where conservation efforts are most needed, or maybe they'd even analyze public sentiment on certain environmental issues.
So they're not just looking internally, they're considering the bigger picture too.
Yeah. And then in the implementation phase, they could maybe build AI-powered tools to help track wildlife populations.
Oh, wow. That would be amazing.
Or predict deforestation patterns, or even optimize fundraising campaigns based on how donors are behaving. Lots of possibilities there.
Yeah, I'm starting to get a sense of how versatile their approach could be. But I have to admit, I'm super intrigued by this open source project they have on GitHub. It's also called Agent Forge, which I guess makes sense, but
Yeah, it's like they're saying, hey, we don't just use AI, we build the tools to create it.
right. So what's the deal with this open source project?
Well, the main idea is it's a framework for building what they call AI-powered autonomous agents using cognitive architectures. I know that sounds kind of jargony, but
Yeah, break it down for us. What exactly is an autonomous agent?
well, think of it like this. It's a computer program, but it's way more sophisticated than the average program. It can actually act independently to achieve some kind of goal.
So almost like a virtual assistant, but like way more powerful.
Yeah, something like that. But able to learn and adapt and make decisions on its own based on data and the instructions it's given.
Okay, that's pretty wild. And what about that other term, cognitive architectures?
Right. That refers to the underlying structure of how these agents think and learn. It's like giving them a framework to understand the world and make intelligent choices.
So it's not just about feeding them tons of data. It's about giving them a way to actually process that data in a smart way.
Right. And one of the coolest things they highlight on their GitHub page is that these agents are LLM agnostic.
Okay. No,
It stands for large language model. And you can basically think of that as the brain behind these agents.
Because like ChatGPT or Google's Gemini, those are LLMs.
Exactly. And LLM agnostic means that developers can use Agent Forge with all sorts of different LLMs.
Oh.
They can pick the one that best suits their needs.
So it's flexible. Doesn't lock you into using one specific AI.
Right. And that opens up so many possibilities for developers. They can experiment with different LLMs and see which performs best for certain tasks. Or maybe even combine multiple LLMs. Who knows what they'll come up with?
Wow, we are just scratching the surface here with Agent Forge. Let's keep going. Okay, so we've got these two sides of Agent Forge. They're offering services to businesses, and they've got this whole open source project on GitHub.
Yeah, like they're trying to cover both angles, help businesses use AI now, and give developers the tools to shape what AI will become.
Right. It's like they're not just trying to be successful themselves. They want to help the whole AI field grow.
I think that's a really interesting approach. So let's dive a little deeper into how this open source project actually works. On the GitHub page, they talk about these dynamic prompt templates.
Dynamic prompt templates. Okay, so what are those?
Well, think of them like instructions that developers can create for their AI agents. But the cool thing is they can make these instructions adaptable.
So instead of having to program like every single detail, the developers can create these templates, and the agents can actually learn and respond to all kinds of different situations.
Yeah, exactly. It's like imagine instead of writing a whole script for like every possible customer interaction, you could make this dynamic template.
I see.
And it would guide the agent on how to handle all sorts of stuff. Questions, complaints, requests for information. It makes the agents way more flexible and responsive.
Okay, that makes sense. So we've got the adaptability part covered, but what about control? Like, how do the developers make sure these AI agents are actually doing what they're supposed to be doing?
That's where the on-the-fly prompt editing comes in. It's super cool. Imagine you can just tweak the instructions in real time, even while the agent's running.
Well, hold on. You don't have to shut the whole thing down and reprogram everything.
Nope. You can make changes on the fly, and the agent just adapts. It's like you have this direct line to the agent's thought process.
Wow. That seems incredibly powerful.
It is. Developers can guide the agent, refine its behavior, all in real time. It makes experimentation so much easier.
Okay, so adaptable instructions and real-time control. Anything else that jumps out at you from the GitHub page?
Well, there's this thing called custom tools and actions. And this lets developers basically expand what their agents can do way beyond the basic stuff.
Okay, I need an example.
All right, so let's say you're building an agent to manage social media for a company. You could create custom tools to let it analyze all those engagement metrics.
Okay, yeah.
Maybe generate content ideas based on what's trending, or even just schedule posts on all the different platforms. All those things could be custom tools.
So the agent becomes like this social media expert.
Exactly. And those tools become like part of its arsenal, so it can do these super specialized tasks that a normal AI couldn't handle.
So basically, the possibilities are endless. It all depends on what tools the developers can dream up.
Exactly. And that's what makes this whole open source project so exciting. It's not just a cookie cutter AI solution. It's this platform for people to get creative with AI.
Totally. Okay, so we've talked about what Agent Forge is, their services for businesses, the tech behind this open source project. But now I want to talk about the so what. Like, what does all this mean? Where could this lead in the future?
The big questions. It's tough to say for sure, but one way to think about it is to look at the potential impact on different industries. What could AI agents do for healthcare, finance, manufacturing, education?
It's like AI could disrupt almost every industry we can think of.
Right. Think about it. Let's say there's a bank that's having problems with fraud detection.
Okay, yeah. Big problem for banks.
Right. Their traditional systems use algorithms to flag suspicious transactions, but those algorithms can be outsmarted pretty easily.
Yeah, especially if the fraudsters are clever.
So that's where an AI agent could step in. You could train it on tons of financial data so it learns to spot the patterns and the anomalies that could point to fraud.
So it's not just about reacting after the fraud's already happened. It's about proactively stopping it before it even occurs.
Exactly. And that's just one tiny example. Imagine AI agents helping doctors make diagnoses or personalizing education for every student, maybe even managing traffic flow in cities.
It seems like we're on the verge of this future, where AI is woven into every part of our lives, doing jobs we can't even imagine right now.
It's exciting, but also a little daunting, right? This technology is so powerful. The choices we make today will determine what this AI-powered future looks like.
It's not enough to just build the tech. We need to use it wisely and ethically.
And that's where I think the whole open source thing comes in. By making the Agent Forge project open and transparent, they're inviting everyone to help shape the future of AI.
Yeah, it's like democratizing AI development. More people have a voice in how this unfolds.
Exactly. It's about moving away from this black box approach to AI. We need more open collaboration. Everyone working together to build an AI-powered future that we can all feel good about.
Okay, so we talked about the potential benefits, the ethical concerns. It's a lot to take in.
It is, but there's one more thing we need to talk about, the potential risks of AI agents. What are the downsides? What should people be aware of?
Oh yeah, good point. We'll dive into that in the final part of our deep dive. Okay, so we're back, and I think it's safe to say we've all got this, whoa, what does this all mean, feeling about Agent Forge and AI in general.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot to process. We're talking about tech that could completely transform industries, change the way we work, how we live, even how we think about the world. It's huge.
So let's talk about the elephant in the room. What could go wrong with all of this? What are the risks as these AI agents get more and more powerful?
Well, I think one of the big ones is control. Like, as these agents become super sophisticated and start doing more stuff on their own, how do we make sure they're still following our rules? Human values and goals. How do we prevent them from going off the rails?
Yeah, it's like that classic sci-fi scenario. The AI gets too smart and starts making decisions that we never intended, or even doing things that could be harmful.
Exactly, and it's a real concern. It means we need to build in safeguards, like some kind of kill switch.
Yeah.
And we need to be able to track what these agents are doing and hold someone accountable if something goes wrong.
So it's not just about making the AI powerful, it's about making sure it's trustworthy.
Yeah.
And that we can still control it.
Right. And another concern is that someone could use these AI agents for bad stuff. Like, what if a really advanced agent fell into the wrong hands?
Yeah, that's a scary thought.
It could be used to spread misinformation, manipulate markets, maybe even launch cyber attacks.
Wow, the stakes are high. We're not just talking about optimizing a factory here. This is about security, maybe even global stability.
It is, and that's where the whole open source nature of the Agent Forge project gets really interesting.
Oh yeah, how so?
Well, it's kind of a double-edged sword. On the one hand, having the code out in the open means more people can look at it. Security researchers can find vulnerabilities and fix them. Ethical experts can help create guidelines for how to use the tech responsibly.
So it's like the whole global community can pitch in and make sure these agents are being used for good and not for evil.
Yeah, it's that idea. But on the flip side, having the code open means anyone can access it, even people with bad intentions.
Oh, right. So it's like this massive responsibility for everyone involved.
Yeah.
Developers, governments, even individuals. We have to be super vigilant with this technology.
Yeah, no doubt. And that's why we need to be having these conversations. It's not just about the nuts and bolts of AI. It's about the big picture, the impact on society, the ethical dilemmas. We're all shaping this future together, whether we realize it or not.
That's a great point. Okay, so we've covered the potential benefits of AI agents, the risks, the ethical questions. It's been quite a journey. What's the one thing you want our listeners to take away from this Agent Forge deep dive?
Well, I think the most important thing is this. AI is not something that's going to happen in the distant future. It's happening now. It's evolving faster than ever. And it's going to affect everyone. And Agent Forge, with this two-sided approach working with businesses and empowering developers, they're right at the heart of it all.
Yeah, it's like there were this little snapshot of the whole AI landscape, the possibilities, the challenges, the tough questions we need to be asking ourselves.
Absolutely. And the thing is, the future of AI is not set in stone. We're all making choices every day that are shaping this future. So stay informed, stay curious, and keep asking those tough questions.
Well said. A huge thank you to our expert for walking us through this fascinating world. And for you listening out there, check out the show notes for links to Agent Forge's website and their GitHub project. Keep learning, keep exploring, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive.